All right, we're going to get started for this afternoon. So welcome. My name is Kurt Hessinger, and I'm one of the academic advisors here for the School of Social Sciences. So welcome to our Social Policy and Public Service Transfer Live Session webinar. Hopefully you're in the right spot. We're going to kind of go through a little bit of the information about the major in Social Policy and Public Service. After that, we are going to have a live Q&A, which is your chance to actually ask questions of the academic advisors related to your major and any other general questions you have about the summer. And then after that, we'll be done. But, we want to give you a little bit of background on how we're going to, what we're going to be going through. So in a few minutes, we're going to have our Carissa Sorensen from our Social Sciences Academic Resource Center. And she's going to speak a lot about the opportunities that our Resource Center provide to undergraduate students. We're then going to move into some graduation requirements and some important information that you need to know about graduating from UCI. And then we're going to get into the more social sciences requirements and how that factors into your major here at UCI. And then we'll get into the minors and electives and major requirements and how that all comes to be as far as your units and finishing up your requirements. And then we're going to talk something about changing majors in case that's something you're interested in, or maybe even double majoring in something else. And then we'll talk a little bit about us as an office, the Undergraduate Student Affairs Office, and some of the resources we can provide you with to help you on your journey here at UCI. And then we'll go through some resources, some important things that you'll need to know to kind of keep you, on top of things while you're a student in other areas outside of academics. And then some next steps, which is more about important deadlines that are upcoming this summer. And then we'll have a live Q&A session for you. The one thing we do ask you for is that if you can just withhold putting the questions in the QA box until after we're done with the presentation. That way it gives us a chance to kind of give you the full presentation first, and you can sit back and think about the questions you want to ask after we're done. All right, again, congratulations on being admitted to UCI and welcome to the School of Social Sciences family. But at this point, I'm going to turn over to Carissa, and she's going to talk a little bit more about the Social Sciences Academic Resource Center. So Carissa, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kurt. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carissa Sorensen, and I'm the director of the Social Sciences Academic Resource Center, also known as SARC. And I'm really excited to be with you here virtually to share a little bit more about our center and the resources that we can provide to hopefully provide you long-term success after graduating from UCI and beyond. But just a little bit about ourselves. SARC is actually committed to supporting you through your pursuit of your post-baccalaureate goals, meaning the goals that you have after UCI. So whether that's graduate school, full-time employment, or research, we kind of have it all. We're actually very unique to the School of Social Sciences. So there's no other academic unit with a center like ours. So besides myself, I also have a program coordinator. His name's Patrick Del Rosario. Hopefully you'll get to meet him eventually. And then we also have graduate students that work for our center too. And these are PhD students in the School of Social Sciences that can provide assistance with graduate school. We also have our peer consultants. So these are peers just like you who also have a wealth of information and knowledge that they are able to share as well. So for example, our team can actually provide you guidance as you're creating your personal statements or statement of purpose for graduate school applications, as well as connecting you to various scholarships here in the School of Social Sciences and just campus-wide scholarships, as well as internships or career positions, or perhaps faculty mentor research opportunities, if that's something that you're interested in. Or perhaps you maybe want to just get involved or find some volunteer opportunities. We can certainly point you in the right direction as well. We also strongly encourage you to take advantage of our one-on-one consultations. And so you can get your resume, your cover letter reviewed, and then hopefully when we're back in person eventually, you'll be able to make use of our study space. We also have computers available and printing services. But for now, you can actually contact us virtually. We are open this summer, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We'd be happy to meet with you and just discuss what your goals are this upcoming fall. And if you're on social media, we also encourage you to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Our handle is UC Irvine SARC. But that's it for now. So I'll go ahead and pass it back to Kurt. But thank you all so much for having me.
All right. Thank you, Carissa. I can't say enough about how valuable it is to have a resource center such as Social Sciences Academic Resource Center at UCI. And as Carissa mentioned, we're really the only one on campus for undergrads that has such an office like this. So definitely something to take advantage of, and hopefully, when you're on campus and once everything's open up again, you'll be able to visit and, see all the great things that they have in their office and be able to talk to some really great people. All right, so first thing we wanted to kind of cover was basically how to graduate, right? What are the basic graduation requirements that all students need to do to meet, go from entering UCI to graduating from UCI. So the first one for social sciences is that students must take all of their social sciences math courses and also major courses related to their major in social policy public service for a letter grade option only. So that's something to realize as you enroll in classes, to make sure that you're taking these courses for a letter grade. Very important, because these are mandatory courses that you don't need to take for a letter grade. The other aspect on that second point there is every student has to have a minimum of 180 quarter units in order to graduate with any degree from UCI. So what that means is there's a chance that you could finish up your degree requirements within your major, but you still might have some extra units at the back end. So if that's the case, then those units can be made up with like elective units or a minor in something or a double major. But every student has to have at least 180 units, but so you can go over that. It's just that you have to have at least 180 units there in order to graduate. Now, as transfer students, there is a limit on the amount of units you can transfer in, and that is 105 quarter units. And to put that in perspective a little bit is that if you're going to a semester school, 105 quarter units equates to 70 semester units here at UCI. So once you've hit that 70 semester unit mark, that would be the maximum you could transfer in as a transfer student. So that means no more units can be accrued towards graduation requirements at that point. So something to think about, and you'll see that on your transcript when your transcripts have been evaluated by UCI admissions. Most students have anywhere from like 90 units to 105 core units coming in when they start. That's kind of a range. This does not include any advanced placement exams or international baccalaureate exams that you may have as well. So if you have those can be added on to that total if you happen to have those exams. And then the last thing is, and I'm sure all of you have aspirations of a higher GPA, but at least everyone has to have a minimum of a 2.0 GPA in order to graduate. So basically when everything's done within your major and overall, you have to have at least that in order to be eligible to graduate. Okay, so the next few slides are going to focus on 4 specific areas. First one is called UC requirements. And what we mean by UC requirements is these are shared requirements throughout the entire UC system of campuses. So every student, no matter what campus they're going to, has to meet these requirements. Then we're going to go into more depth about UCI general education requirements and how that factors into your degree requirements. Then we'll talk a little bit more about school social sciences requirements, and then we'll get into more specifics regarding your major courses within social policy and public service. So the first thing we're going to talk about are UC requirements. Now you're going to see a couple of points there. Basically, the first one, UC entry-level writing. That is typically satisfied by all transfer students before they enter UCI, because all transfer students have to have at least a transferable English composition course. So that one is typically satisfied by every transfer student. The next part may be entirely satisfied by certain students, or you may have one, you may have the other, or you may have neither of them, right? So it's called American History and Institutions. And American History and Institutions basically is a course in American history and a course in American US government, right? And so if you've taken those courses previously at your previous college, you may have already satisfied that, but it will take some time for UCI admissions to evaluate this. So we probably won't have the answers to all these questions right away. Maybe towards the beginning of fall quarter, we'll know if you've satisfied either part of it or all of it, or you only take them here at UCI. Now, if you do have to take them at UCI, there's 2 ways of doing it. One is you can take a year-long sequence of US history, which at UCI is History 40A, B, and C. And then there's also an option of taking one course in US history, which is 40A, B, or C, and then taking a course in US government, which is Political Science 21A. And you have to get C's or better in those classes as well in order to pass that. Okay. All right, so UCI general education requirements. So every student has to have, major requirements, general education requirements, units to graduate. So this is what UCI has for their general education requirements. And as you can see there are 8 specific categories. The first one is writing, and that entails 3 classes. 2 of them are lower division writing courses, and 1 is an upper division writing course that all students must take. Then we have category 2, which is science and technology. And that's 3 courses as well. And those are in areas like biological sciences, physics, earth system science, things of that nature, those type of courses. And then category 3, we have social and behavioral sciences. And that's, again, 3 courses. But with this category, as long as you stay a major within the School of Social Sciences, this category is going to be satisfied through your major requirements. Then we move down to category 4, and that's arts and humanities. And again, that's 3 classes as well. Now, these courses would be like African American studies, art history, dance, drama, history classes. So that gives you some sample courses within this area. Then we move down to category 5, which is quantitative literacy and formal reasoning, which in the School of Social Sciences is covered by our math requirement that I'm going to talk about in a couple of slides. Then we get to category 6, which is language other than English. And then at UCI, every student has to complete through at least the 1C level, which at UCI, you might have taken this in high school. Maybe you did 3 years of the same language in high school. Maybe you did some courses at your previous college, but every student has to have through the 1C level of a foreign language or language other than English at UCI. And then category 7 is multicultural studies and courses, and that's one course in this area. And these are courses like race and ethnic studies courses. So it could be African American studies, Asian American studies. There are some sociology courses that are eligible in this category as well. And then we get to category 8, which is international global issues. And that's one course as well. And that would be a course that focuses on something outside the US or maybe more global. So like say history of China or Canadian politics or something like that. And then lastly, we do realize that many of you are coming from California community colleges, transferring from, and there is a UCI GETSI program that we're going to talk about, in the next slide that'll make more sense. So that's a possibility for completing some of these general education requirements. And then we also have what we call UC reciprocity if you're transferring from another UC campus directly. And we'll talk about that right now. So GETSI certification, the key thing here is to know that it is a California Community College certification. So it's not something that the UC requires or UC system requires, or it's not an admissions requirement. It's not something that UC certifies for you. It definitely comes from your community college that you're transferring from. Now, what this means is that you have to ask your community college that you're transferring from if you are GETSI certified, and they will need to include that on your transcript, or they might provide a separate certificate attached to the transcript that indicates you've been at UCI GETSI certified. Now, it's not automatic. So there's, sometimes we have students who said, oh, I sent my transcripts, but the GETSI was never included on there. Unless you specifically ask your community college to put that on there, they sometimes do not put that on there automatically. So definitely contact your community college to see if you can get that added on there if you know you've completed UCI GETSI. The other part of that is the UC reciprocity, and this is for students who are transferring from other UC campuses. And so same process, you would actually ask your previous UC campus to write a letter that's certified that says you've completed all of their general education requirements. And then if that gets sent to UCI admissions, then we can use that as kind of similar to UCI GETSI. Right? And I definitely have it sent electronically to UCI admissions, because that's the way we know that you've done it. And that's how we're going to check to see if you've been certified. So try to have it sent electronically, and then try to get it in as much as you can before the beginning of fall quarter, because then that helps us advise you better and let you know, hey, we've got your UCI GETSI, you're all good on the general education, or no, we haven't received it, and we need to have you contact the community college again. But definitely make sure you try to get that in as soon as possible. And then the last part about this, in all transfer students, regardless of GETSI or reciprocity, every student has to complete at least one upper division writing course. And that's something that every student has to complete regardless of if they have GETSI or reciprocity. Okay, so the next part we're talking about is the school social science requirements. And so this is very specific to us in social sciences, to our school and our majors. And so this is something that every major in social sciences has to complete. So within social sciences, we have 2 main areas. One of them is the math requirement. The other one is the computer technology requirement. Now, the key part about this is that many students still have to complete the math requirement, even if you have done a math course. So I'll explain that a little bit more clearly. So we find a lot of students that are coming from other colleges have at least a semester or a quarter of stats. That's pretty common. We see that quite a bit, but that doesn't necessarily meet the entire requirement, because we do require a full year of transferable math for all of our majors in social sciences. So to use that as an example, let's say you did complete 1 semester of stats at your previous college. That would equate to stats 7, which you see there on this slide right here. And what that means is you have 2 additional choices to complete the math requirement here at UCI for social sciences. The first one is you could take calculus, which is math 2A and 2B if you want to. However, in many instances, calculus is not something that a lot of our majors choose unless they really need it for something else. But that is an option. You could complete calculus with that stats here at UCI that you already completed. Or you can take the social science 10A, B, and C, which is a year-long sequence in probability and stats. And that is a more common option, especially for our majors in social policy and public service. And it's really only one extra class, and it doesn't have any prerequisites. So you wouldn't be required to take any placement exams for getting into that class. And if you do have some background in stats, there is a chance that might help you in it. It's not identical to the stats you'd taken previously, if that's what you did. It goes into more probability and stats within social sciences, and it is a year-long sequence as well. So many students will have to still take more math under our majors in social sciences. If you did happen to do a transferable semester of calculus and a transferable semester of stats, there's a chance that you might have the math requirement completed, but it really depends on the course that you took at your previous college. And then the second requirement is a course in computer technology, and that's a one-course commitment, right? And that's called Social Science 3A. And because you are a social policy and public service major, this course must be taken for a letter grade because it is a course within your major requirements. All right, so a little bit more about the program in social policy and public service. So you may have gone on the website, may have looked at it a little bit more, but really what you're looking at is you're exploring more issues related to social justice, equality, social policy, and how you can focus those areas on research areas and educational access in education, in governance, or health and healthcare policy. So you're going to get a lot of background in these areas, especially in the public service area. There's also a field studies area where you're going to get more research and you're going to get more experience in the public sector, public service and social policy sector. And there's even an internship that's included as part of these requirements as well. So you're really going to delve deeper into these issues that we're talking about here with social justice and equality related to the three main areas of education, governance, or health. So that's really what you're getting within this degree. It's a really excellent degree in these areas, and it provides a lot more practical background and application as well too with the field studies and the internship opportunities. And there is an honors program as well. So if you are interested in going further into the topics that we just talked about, students can engage in an honors thesis program where basically what you're doing is you're spending a year at UCI taking your major courses, but also doing a more intense research project within your major. And typically you have a faculty mentor that assists you with this as well, but you're coming up with your own topics, your own research areas, and you spend a year doing that research in your last year at UCI. And it's publishable work, so it's a good bridge if you were thinking about to go into graduate school after that as well. And then as you can see there too, we also have an honor society, Phi Gamma Mu, and that's an opportunity within the program as well. Okay, so major requirements. So what we're getting into here is more specific courses that are required for the major in social policy and public service. And if you see on the right-hand side, that's kind of what we call a degree check, a copy of a degree check, and it's blank right now. But you're going to get something later in the summer that has courses on it and things maybe that you've received credit for previously. But this just basically shows you what the requirements are for the major. So you see here on the right-hand side, you'll see things are numbered like 10, 11, 12, 13. Now, every student has to complete social science 1A, 2A, and 3A, and those are your fundamental core classes right here, and that's in number 10. And then students have to complete one intro to social policy and public service course, which is the social science 40 class. There's also one cultural competency course required as well, and you have two choices on that here in number 12. There's also a leadership course, which is called Social Science 181A, and that's listed here in number 13. Students also have to have two courses in research methods, since you will be engaging in a lot of research within the major as well. And that's Social Science 102A and 170A, which is right here. And then you get into your more specialized courses of, you get to choose one functional focus, and you'll choose 3 courses in one of those areas. And they're either going to be in education, health, or governance. And you'll see these courses that are kind of sample courses listed right here. And those are the choices in the course that you can take for this area right down here. And then again, I mentioned field study courses as well. That's a year-long sequence, and it's called 193A, B, and C, which is right here in number 15. So you'll take that in the fall, winter, and spring. It's a year-long sequence. And then there's also an off-campus internship, which is called Social Science 194A, that could be an area of social policy or public service as well. And that's kind of the basic breakdown of the major requirements. So that way you can see what types of courses you're going to be taking in the next 2 or 3 years, depending on your time frame. Okay, minors and electives. So students, I mean, any student can decide if they want to do a minor or not. A minor is basically a set of 7 or more classes that you can take that are maybe not related to your major, that are in another field. They're not required, but many students that have a personal interest in another area may decide that they want to do this. So, you know, for example, let's say you want to do a history minor to supplement what you're learning in social policy and public service. You can take about 7 classes in history. We can add that to your degree works audit. And then that way you have a minor as well as a major at UCI if you have the time to do it. Now, again, it's not required. It's not something you have to do. But if you're interested in it, you can contact us during the academic year and we can work with you on the various requirements for the minors. Elective units are basically what we talked about a little bit earlier. Like, let's say, for example, you finished all your major courses, but you have some additional units to reach the 180 unit mark. If you need to do that, then the elective units could be in courses outside of your major in just other areas, so you can actually meet the unit requirements. So that's another option of taking classes. All right, so changing your major or double majoring. So some students may decide that they want to change majors after they, attend UCI, and in certain cases, this is possible depending on the major. The key thing in here is like every major, whether you're trying to change your major or double major in something, does require a set of courses to be completed, and then there's a certain GPA or within those courses that you have to meet as well. So there is a time frame thing here as far as like how long it may take you to meet those requirements. The key thing here is also to know is that as a transfer student, you're given 9 quarters to finish up your degree requirements at UCI. And that's 3 years basically from the time that you start. So if you are thinking of double majoring or even changing your major, it's important to kind of figure that out as soon as possible because it does take time to complete these courses and to meet the GPA requirements necessary. The other thing to note is that just because you complete the change in major requirements doesn't guarantee entry into another major, since it may factor into how many spots are in the major or the time frame that it takes you to meet those requirements. So if you do have specific questions on that, there is a change in major website listed at the bottom there, and that's changeofmajor.uci.edu. And if you go to that website, you'll see kind of the course requirements and GPA requirements for all the majors here at UCI if you're interested in looking at that. All right, Undergraduate Student Affairs Office, which is us, right? So yeah, actually you can see all of our great faces there. We're all excited doing our anteater poses and everything like that. So that's our office. Those are our 8 full-time academic advisors. We're a fun bunch. The great thing is that we're all UCI alumni. So we all received our degrees from UC Irvine and different times and points during UCI's campus. So it's great to have that background knowledge of someone that knows the campus and knows the majors, and that's a good thing to have. But even better than that are the fact that we have 8 to 12 peer academic advisors as well, who are trained by one of our academic advisors, Estella, and they actually do an amazing job every year of working with our students. And they represent you, the student, currently right now, what's going on campus. So their knowledge is unending, right? Because they can provide you of how their schedules look, and they can provide you with how to balance schedules, with what opportunities are there on campus, organizations, things like that. So they can provide a lot more direct knowledge about what's going on campus right now. And so they represent a lot of our majors in social sciences, and they can give you a really great resource. So highly recommend utilizing them. They also do workshops and virtual things as well, and videos. So you'll see them a lot during the next couple of years that you're here at UCI. All right, so how to communicate with our office. So there's 2 ways to communicate with our office. One is during the summer, right? Now, from the summer, we're talking about between now and the end of September. So during that time frame, you want to contact us through the email that you see right there, transferadmin@socsci.uci.edu. And that's our main email address. You've already received emails from this address already for your registration forms and other communications. So be on the lookout for these emails, and also reply back to these emails, because this is the email address that we're going to communicate with you during the summer. So that's our main way of communicating with you. So when you do send an email to us during the summer at this email address, make sure you use your UCI email address to communicate with us. And then make sure you put your full name and your UCI ID number in there as well, so we know who we're talking to or speaking to on the email. And then at least give us about 2 business days to respond, because we do have a lot of new students coming in for the fall quarter. So it might take us a couple of days to get back to all the emails that we're receiving during the summer. So that's between now and the end of September. And then starting in the fall quarter, we have some other ways that you can contact our office. One of them is obviously email again, but we also have access. You can actually email one academic advisor. So we have 8 of us in the office. If you want to choose one of us and email us with a question, we can answer it to you that way. We always emphasize one advisor, because we have some people who will like email all 8 of us at once with the same question. You definitely don't want to do that, since it slows down the process of emails. And then also we have a general email address, which is socsci@uci.edu, and you can also use that email address as well for general questions. And then we'll have phone hours as well, and those are going to be posted on our website. So if you want to call our office for some general questions as well, we'll have those hours posted, and that way you can talk to someone over the phone. If you happen to call when we're not available, definitely leave a voicemail and give us your full name, your UCI ID number, callback number, and we'll definitely return your phone call the next time that we're available. And then live chat, we have that as well, which is a great way to get answers to quick questions that you might have. It's not really designed for in-depth questions and counseling advising. So definitely use the live chat for more of the quick questions. And we're going to put that on our website too in the fall quarter. And then we're also do Zoom appointments once the fall quarter begins. And those are individual appointments from weeks 2 through 10. And we're going to have an appointment form on our website once fall quarter starts at the end of September, that you'll see that there as well too. So 2 ways to communicate with us, but for the summer right now, the way to communicate with our office is through the transfer admin email address that you see at the top there. All right, so some resources that you see right here. Obviously, this doesn't represent all of the resources that we have at UCI, but there's some really good ones here. And just to name a few of them, the Counseling Center, the Learning Academic Resource Center, Financial Aid, the LGBTQ Resource Center, the Fresh Basic Hub, Needs Hub. These are all dedicated offices and resources on campus that are, some of them are academic based, some of them are not, but that can be very helpful in your time here at UCI. And if you have, some challenges, or maybe there's something you want more information on that we can't provide, a lot of these resources can provide that to you, and they're very willing to help. They have a very dedicated staff that's willing to do that. All right, so what's coming up next? So some key important deadlines. So hopefully all of you that are here today have already registered for your transfer advising, and we sent those emails out via transfer admin. But if you haven't, get on it right away. June 18th by 5 p.m. is the absolute deadline for you to submit your registration. So get that in there so we can actually get you to the next step, which is completing your Canvas modules by June 24th. Those are 2 big ones, because if you don't do any of those, then we can't give you any advising on how to enroll in classes, and then you won't be able to enroll in courses until all this has been done, right? So make sure those 2 things get done and complete your Canvas modules by June 24th. Once that happens, then you'll have your registration hold lifted between June 28th and July 8th. And that's the time frame that you'll be able to enroll in classes for the fall quarter. And during that time frame, you're going to get an email from one of the academic advisors, and it's going to have a list of courses, recommended courses, some enrollment procedures and things like that. So it'll help you and assist you in enrolling in classes for the fall quarter. And then definitely once you get that email, enroll right away, because you don't want to miss out on any important classes that are upcoming for the fall quarter as well. So definitely get on top of that. The other 2 deadlines, one of them is a UCI admissions deadline, and that is July 1st. And that's to submit your official transcripts to UCI admissions. So if you still need to submit transcripts to UCI, make sure you get that to UCI admissions by July 1st, because you don't want to have any academic holds on your record that prevents you from doing anything. And then the last deadline there is paying your fall quarter fees by September 15th at 4 p.m. That's the deadline for all students to pay fees for undergraduates for the fall quarter. Very important deadline, because if you don't pay the fees by that point, you will get dropped from all of your classes, and then you might not be able to add back into those classes because they might be full later on. So definitely all 4 of those are important dates and deadlines, so definitely get on top of that. Okay, so that kind of does it for the presentation part. What we're going to do now is, like I told you at the beginning, is we're going to start doing the Q&A session. What you want to do now is, if you have any questions, put your questions in the Q&A box there, and our advisors, we're going to be answering those questions verbally for you. Make them general, right? Because you can't really get into specifics regarding you personally and your academic record because it is a live session. So try to keep the questions more general. Also send your question one time. It helps us, be more efficient in answering your questions. And so with that being said, you can go ahead and start putting your Q&A questions in there, and we'll try to answer them as quickly as we can.
All right, we already have a question. That's very exciting. So hello, my name's Sarah. I'm one of the academic advisors in the School of Social Sciences along with Kurt. And we're also joined by Chika Kono, who is another one of our awesome advisors. So we're going to be answering your questions. So the first question is from Julia, and she's asking, for our field studies courses, what exactly do we do in these classes?
Hi, so I'll take this one. All right, so field study is a 3-quarter sequence. So most likely you'll be taking it your second year. It's a 3-quarter sequence. You'll find a field study site. So you'll find a site where you'll be spending about 100 hours a quarter, so about 10 hours a week. You and the instructor will come up with a research topic that you could study, like almost like an observational ethnographic study kind of thing. And then you'll be doing it's a 1-year research paper portfolio that you'll be writing. So you find an internship, a field study site. You'll come up with the research topic, and you'll be doing a 1-year research, doing observation in the field study site. And then by the end of the 3-quarter sequence, you'll have this big paper project, which will also count as an upper division writing requirement. But yeah, so it kind of combines internship almost with a research. That makes sense, I hope.
That was great, Chika. I feel like I learned something today about the field studies course. So that's exciting for me. Are there any other questions? Now's your chance to ask. Okay, so Julia's asking, how exactly would we get an internship for our major requirement?
You could we have a database, but usually we don't recommend you doing it your very first quarter. So as you start taking more classes, you'll kind of get more, you'll find an interest, like what you want to study and why you chose SBPS as a major, because it's not your typical major, right? Like you had to have found this major in order for you to know what this major is about. So I'm assuming you have some kind of interest in like health or governance or education, but we try to match your interest so that you get to have some kind of interest experience that you could have on your resume. So usually the SARC, Carissa's office, Carissa's center, they could help. There's also DCP, Division of Career Pathways, the Career Center. You could find internships through that. The instructor, the director of the program, Dr. Castellanos, she's also the Associate Dean of School of Social Sciences. So that's why SCP is such an amazing major, because Dr. Castellano, Associate Dean of School of Social Sciences, is also the director of this SBPS major. But anyways, so she also has a big list of internship sites that you could intern in. So depending on your interest. So we try to help you, whether it be SARC or DCP or Dr. Castellanos, so that you won't be ask us again, maybe first quarter, second quarter. Definitely, we want you to do it by end of your second year, maybe beginning, maybe summer of your second year. So ask us around then if you have any question at that time, but I bet you probably figured it out by then.
no other questions right now. All right, so, oh, wait. Okay, oh, this one's a question that I can answer. Okay, so Julia's asking, once we finish our Canvas modules, will we make an appointment with an academic advisor to create our course plan? So the way that advising is working this summer is that when your Canvas modules are completed, as long as you complete them before the June 24th deadline, then between June 28th and July 8th, you'll receive an email from one of our advisors that actually has your degree check sheet for your SPPS major that'll show you like what classes you've already completed at community college and what classes you need to take here for your major, as well as your fall course recommendations. So we're actually going to list out the classes that we would recommend that you take for fall quarter. And then if at that time you have any questions, you can reply directly to the advisor who sent you that email. Or we're planning on hosting some drop-in hours over Zoom with our peer academic advisors around that same time. So if you get that course recommendation email and you still have questions and you'd like to talk to somebody about it over Zoom, you can kind of pop into one of those sessions and talk to a peer advisor, and they'll be able to kind of answer your questions about that. We're not doing one-on-one advising with students because we have 950 incoming transfer students and about 1,200 incoming freshmen. So we just don't have enough people power to manage one-on-one appointments with students. But the other thing to keep in mind too is that for right now, you're really just planning fall quarter. And then, our office will be open for one-on-one Zoom appointments in fall. So before you have to start thinking about, oh, well, what am I going to take for winter? At that point, you can actually make an appointment with an advisor or, talk to a peer advisor about your schedule going forward. And if you want to, help coming up with an academic plan at that point. For future quarters, we're happy to help you with that. But for this summer and for fall quarter, email is how you're going to get your fall course recommendations. And then we're always available by email if you have questions. Oh, yes. So Julia, if you have a question before June 28th, you can send it to Transfer Admit. And we try to get back to students pretty quickly within 24 to 48 hours. So yeah, send your question to Transfer Admit. And then, like I said, after you get that fall course registration email, it might be easiest for you to communicate with the advisor who sent you that email, just because they're familiar with the classes that they recommended to you. So. All right, so I'll keep the Q&A open for another 30 seconds or so. So if you have any final questions, please go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. Otherwise, we're probably going to wrap up. We've covered a lot of ground so far, so for SPPS. Oh, okay. I think Chika, maybe this a good one for you. So Julia's asking, what would you say this major leads to, or what kind of career prospects are there with the SPPS major?
Students interested in SPPS major tends to want to be in some kind of service industry, social service. So, so I guess it really depends on what you're interested in, why you chose SPPS major. But usually students will go to grad school to pursue, to gain more knowledge. And so you could do more with SPPS major. So this will definitely prepare you for that. So whether it be educational policy, let's say, or social policy, some kind of health. So it really, it really depends, but it's really for people who wants to be of service to the community, to the people. So whatever you're interested in doing, again, chances are you will need to go to grad school, but we try to use the field study and the internship to prepare you for grad school and your future career. So if you're interested in some kind of job, if you're interested in a certain field, talk to us about it. It's like, this is what I want to do. How should I get there? How could I use SPPS major to get to where I want to be? So, there's no set like, oh, well, if you're SPPS major, you're going to be, I don't know, like policymaker, lawyer, but that's not it. That's not it. You really could do anything you want to. So if there is something you're really interested in doing, talk to us and then we'll try to help you get there. That makes sense? That's okay?
Would like a job like a social worker be an option for someone doing SPPS?
Yes, most definitely yes. It's one of probably the most popular area that students interested in going into, social work.
Yeah, and with social work, you do have to do a master's in order to be licensed. So you do have to have a master's of social work. So that would be like as part of your plan. So you would do your SPPS major, and then you would apply to Masters of Social Work programs for after you finish your undergrad. So yeah, I think this major would totally prepare you for that too. And that's something also, that's a conversation, like if you want to be a social worker, that's a conversation that you can have with Carissa and Patrick at the SARC or with the advisors at the Division of Career Pathways, because they're going to be able to give you really good insight on what you can do now to prepare yourself for that application process to those graduate programs, so that you're doing everything you can while you're an undergraduate to, get good letters of recommendation, doing research, having a high GPA. They'll even walk you through the search process for those programs. Like I know Division of Career Pathways is really great about that. They're super good about being like, this is how you should search for the right program for you. These are how to keep yourself organized when you're applying to grad school, all of that stuff. So like, if you're coming to UCI and like, yeah, I want to, be a social worker, I would say as soon as you can, talk to the advisors in the SARC or the advisors at DCP, because they're going to really, really help you get organized so that you're ready in your final year to apply to those master's programs. Okay. If you're looking to do social work and you want to talk to the advisors in the SARC or the DCP, so I would say you could start with the SARC. And so Carissa and Patrick are the two main advisors there, but they also have graduate students that work in their office, as well as peer mentors that you could talk to. And then the DCP, I don't know the names of all of the advisors there, but they'll point you in the right direction. I don't know for social, like if there's a specific advisor for social work in DC. I don't think so. So I think honestly, like if you went to the DCP website, you could make an appointment with any of their advisors, and they will be very helpful for you. And we can put those links in the chat too. Let me do that real quick. Okay, so that first one is for the DCP or the Career Center, and then have the SARC also. And then the second link is for the SARC. So either of those offices or both, because you might get good information. Like I always say, especially if you're thinking about grad school, the more people you can talk to about it, the better, because you really want like a diverse set of thoughts on the process, and to have all the information that you possibly can. So yeah, I would say definitely look at both, talk to advisors in both places, and they'll definitely be able to put you on the right path for grad school. Also, I would say if you're thinking social work too with the SPPS, good idea to find internships or fieldwork sites that are related to that area too. So that can also be really helpful and looks really good on like graduate school applications to be like, look, I have already been doing work in this field and I'm really passionate about it. And like, if you can show like passion and dedication to that area, that is always like to the good for your application. So I would always tell that to students who want to go into teaching, like the more hands-on stuff you do while you're an undergraduate, the better your grad school application looks. All right, so Julia said that's all the questions that she has today. So then I think we can probably wrap up. So, so thank you for joining us. If you think of any other questions in the meantime, feel free to email that transferadmit@soci.uci.edu email address. Otherwise, if you've done your Canvas modules and everything already, then we'll be contacting you in a couple of weeks with your fall course recommendations. And you'll be able to enroll in your classes. And yeah, thanks again for stopping by this afternoon, for listening to us. So
Have a great summer. We'll see you in the fall.
yeah. All right, take care.